Steve, your crystal ball for quarterback Jadyn Davis has been on Michigan since October. He's the number 2 quarterback in the top 24/7 rankings. So how strongly are you favoring the Wolverines in this race?
Time with Jadyn Davis and his father this past weekend in San Antonio as they were in town for the All-America Bowl festivities. Jadyn's going to play in the game next year. And I still think that Michigan has the momentum in this recruitment. But as y'all talked about with Allen there, Jim Harbaugh's name is being floated around for potential NFL jobs. And I think with that, the antenna is up in the Davis camp on what's going to happen there. And they've continued to keep regular communication with several other programs. Clemson is a program that has been a dream offer of his since the 5th grade. He's been there numerous times. They offered on June 1st. He has a great relationship with Brandon Streeter in that class and knows the place well. I think Penn State, James Franklin, and the entire staff went and visited him at Providence Day in December when coaches could be on the road. And Mike Yursich and Danny O'Brien and those guys have made an impression on Jadyn as well. Tennessee's a program that it's really heating up with Jadyn and the amount that they've talked. And one of the reasons why he's so high on Michigan is the reason why he's high on Tennessee. Both those head football coaches have experience under center. They were terrific college football players. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh was a terrific player in the NFL. And I think that's something that speaks to Jadyn as well. So we'll see what happens at Michigan. That'll tell us what probably happens with Jadyn Davis. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State came back around on Jadyn Davis. I think there was a time where the Buckeyes were in terrific position for him. And then Dylan Raiola committed. Now Dylan Raiola is no longer part of Ohio State's class. The Buckeyes are searching for a 2024 quarterback again, and they certainly had Jadyn Davis high on their board.
Steve, I love the segue. Talking about Raiola, he's ranked ahead of Jadyn Davis in the quarterback rankings, the number 1 overall prospect in the 2024 class, decommitted from the Buckeyes in December, and obviously a lot of programs are after his signature. But we mentioned earlier in the show that you flipped your crystal ball to Georgia. What's got you feeling good about the Bulldogs?
Well, my pick was on Ohio State, and we know it's not going to be the Buckeyes, so I had to roll out of there. But I do think that Georgia has set the tone in this recruitment as it moves forward. But there's some other contenders. You have Oregon, who's heavily in the mix. A lot of dialogue with several Duck staffers, USC, Lincoln Riley. His track record developing the quarterback position is something that's also very exciting, along with the offensive style and really the personal relationship that he has with Lincoln Riley. When Lincoln Riley zeroes in on a quarterback, he's the one that's leading the charge on the trail. So I think that Dylan feels close to Lincoln Riley. And then Nebraska, all the family ties to the Huskers. He's a major target, obviously, for Matt Rule and that new staff. And I think that he's interested in seeing what those guys build at Nebraska. His uncle's on staff there. So Nebraska is enticing. But Georgia, he was at the national championship game last night. He called Georgia the cream of the crop, says they do everything with such class and they do everything the right way. He talked about the fans, just talked about what Kirby Smart has done, building it into a powerhouse program for his alma mater, and said it's a special place and he can't wait to get back to Athens. No visits set. I think the 4 schools I mentioned are prominently in the mix. That doesn't mean there won't be other contenders for him as he dives back into the recruiting process and sees what's out there.
Well, right behind Raiola in the 2024 player rankings is safety KJ Bolden. The number 2 player in the class has no crystal ball predictions right now, but in-state Georgia, once again, seems firmly near the top of his list. What's his recruitment looking like, Steve?
Yeah, this, we had Texas A&M with the best recruiting class in 24/7 sports history 2 years ago, and Alabama with the second best this year. I think Georgia might top that in 2024. If I had to put a pick in right now, I'd put it in for Georgia for KJ Bolden, but there's a lot of contenders. That one could change. He's supposed to be at Georgia this coming weekend where they're going to probably celebrate another national championship. Alabama in 2 weeks. He likes Clemson a lot. Tennessee. Florida State was kind of his dream school growing up. LSU is another school that's kind of coming into the picture. And then Ohio State is very much in the lead group, in my opinion. If I had to make a lead group, Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, and then the other 4 I think are very much in the thick of it as well.
KJ Bolden's teammate, Eddrick Houston at Buford, is another top-rated prospect in that 2024 class, Steve. And we saw how teammates were, in a way, going through the recruiting process together in this 2023 recruiting cycle. So how do Bolden's and Houston's recruitment overlap?
Well, they're going to do their own thing. I think that these are guys that are going through their own processes respectively, but they do have a lot of the same schools. When you talk about Mr. Houston here, I know he's high on Georgia. likes Alabama. Clemson, certainly a school that's caught his eye, and a program that is not in KJ's list, that's on his list, is Michigan State. He really likes the Spartans there. They're a program to keep an eye on for him with what they've done under Mel Tucker and company. And so we got Alabama. We talked Georgia. In Ohio State, they're the fifth school for him as well.
The number 2 safety in the 2024 class, Jaylen Heyward, set to announce his college decision on Friday. His top 6 includes Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Florida. So with his announcement just a few days away, what's the status of his recruitment?
Well, what's the theme of this little segment we have going on here, y'all? Georgia. I have a 24/7 Sports crystal ball logged for the Bulldogs. I put it in during the fall. I feel great about it going into his decision. I think his relationship with Fran Brown is terrific. I think the opportunity to play for Coach Brown, Coach Muschamp, and Coach Kirby Smart's exciting to him. I think he loved his visit to Athens. He loves the trajectory of the program, the style of the defense. And I think when he announces his decision on Friday, he's going to be part of a Georgia class that's already ranked number 1.
Steve, Sammy Brown is the top linebacker in 2024. He's also out of the state of Georgia. You have to think that the Bulldogs are right there for him. No crystal balls yet for the 5-star, but what's the latest with Sammy Brown?
Well, there's been times where I've been close to logging one for Georgia for Sammy Brown, talking to him and his family throughout the process. I know he loves Georgia, loves Coach Schumann. I don't know if there's a coach in college football that he's closer with than Georgia's defensive coordinator, Glenn Schumann. They already have DeMarcus Riddick committed at the linebacker position. They would love to add Sammy Brown to that, and that'd be their 2 guys at linebacker. Clemson is the main competition, in my opinion, for Georgia. He's been camping there for, his entire life. Clemson normally offers prospects on June 1 each cycle. So like Jadyn Davis, who we talked about, was this past June 1, along with the other priority 2024s. Sammy Brown got his offer before June 1 because they're just so familiar with him. They've had him in camp so many years. They wanted to make that offer special. You're the first player that Clemson's offering in the 2024 cycle. So I think that Dabo Swinney and Coach Goodwin and those guys made an impression there. Ohio State's in there. Notre Dame's in there. Oklahoma, Brent Venables, of course, that relationship is longstanding with Venables as well. But I kind of like Georgia by a hair right now, with Clemson very much at near the top of the list as well.
All right, let's go down to Texas. Colin Simmons out of Duncanville is the number 3 edge in the 2024 class and the number 3 player in the Lone Star State. Now, you would think that the top in-state programs like Texas A&M, Texas, TCU are pursuing him, but Steve, you're crystal balling him to LSU. So how firmly in the driver's seat are the Tigers with this recruitment?
Well, that's a pulse pick. I think LSU's done a terrific job with Colin Simmons, led by Jamar Cain. They've had him on campus a bunch, and I think that he feels at home in Baton Rouge, but there's some major competition. You mentioned those in-state schools. They're all coming hard. He's been to TCU a lot. He liked he thought that Texas, the trajectory of what they did this season was really exciting for him, and he enjoys the vibe in Austin. He's going to visit Georgia this weekend, so he's going to be there, watch them hoist another crystal ball. Georgia is certainly a program that could be on the rise with Colin Simmons, and he loves the way that Georgia's defensive line plays, so they're certainly a contender. There's a lot of schools in the mix for him. He mentioned wanting to learn more about Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State, but I think you got LSU certainly in it. Georgia's got a chance to make a major move this weekend. Then you got Texas, Texas A&M, and TCU, among others, in the Colin Simmons sweepstakes.
Steve, let's stay in the SEC and talk a little Tennessee. The crystal ball favors the Vols right now for Ryan Wingo. He's the number 4 weighted wide receiver in the 2024 class. Are they still the pick right now for you, or who else could emerge in his recruitment?
Yeah, I like where Tennessee stands. And as a matter of fact, guys, he's going to be in Knoxville this weekend for the Vols Junior Day, which is going to include Tennessee's basketball game against Kentucky. I think that Coach Heupel's offense and the way that receivers were able to have so many explosive plays is enticing. And there's not a program recruiting him harder than Tennessee right now, but there are other major contenders in this one. He's going to visit Texas A&M the following weekend. Then he's going to go to Colorado at the end of the month, but Oregon, Notre Dame, Miami, USC, Penn State. There's a lot of schools pushing in. Of course, Missouri. He went and visited in-state Missouri in December for a basketball game. He's been there for a game. Coach Drinkwitz and company have a knack for landing the best players in-state, so Mizzou's certainly high on his list. But I like where Tennessee stands for Ryan Wingo as we go into these winter visits that will take us into the spring.
All right. Thanks, Steve. No one has more scoops than this guy, so remember to catch the latest recruiting intel on Wiltfong Whip Around every Monday and Friday on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel.